Hey, this is Matt. Just a quick note that the audio quality on this episode is a little lower than usual. Mike Newell wasn't around to record it, so it was up to me, and I stink at recording, clearly. So I apologize in advance for the audio quality. It's not terrible, it's listenable, but it's not great. So, in advance, be forewarned.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, August 4th, 2006, and this is episode number 135 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from MGMstudios.org. On the show today is the inspiration for Mel Brooks' 1,000-Year-Old Man, Mike Scopa of MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Matt. From these men, the free world may take new inspiration and hope, and, if it be wise, new wisdom from old words of prophecy.
Also on the panel today is Julie Saunders, a columnist for TouringPlans.com, as well as freelance travel writer and contributor to the Florida Fun column at the Asheville Citizen-Times. She's also a contributor for TheFamilyGroove.com. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
And her mother, Mariana McCann, is also on. Welcome, Mariana.
Glad to be with you.
Well, today we're talking about senior touring at Walt Disney World. Not everyone is young. I'm sure Mike Scopa can attest to that. And we're going to be talking about touring the parks. And this is even if you're not an older person, you might still bring your family down, perhaps your parents or someone else's parents. And it's important to keep some things in mind that may not be readily apparent to us. So, Julie, where do we start?
Well, you've hit upon a good opener, is that with the advent of grand gatherings and things, more and more extended families are touring together. So you could have anyone from, 2-year-olds in strollers to 70-year-olds in scooters. So you're going to want to manage to the lowest common denominator, whoever is in your group. In my case, I became very fortunate when my mother retired that she had more free time, and so I was able to coax her into coming with me on a lot of my trips. So since the show is a senior, again, sorry, Mom, you do qualify. She does a really good job of keeping up. She's really young for her age, and retirement has afforded her time to, be more active, do more walking and things. So I think it's important to set those expectations up front. You got to keep in mind, if you do have a retiree in tow, as in my case, they don't always get up at 6 a.m. anymore. So, she wants to sleep till 8, 8:30. You got to kind of check your Commando Disney ego at the door and just kind of be a little more accommodating, find the middle ground. And you make sure they understand about all the walking. Walt Disney World is very big, very spread out. And so you're going to make sure they understand that, they need to start walking 3 months before the trip, so they're able to do at least 4 miles a day.
Yeah, we go into training at least a month before we're going to go to Walt Disney World. Make sure that we can walk in the heat and so forth and be comfortable.
Right.
Oh, go ahead, Julie.
Well, I was going to say, but if walking gets to be too much, Disney has got to be one of the most accommodating places I've ever been to assist people that are in wheelchairs or those little motorized scooters. All these things can go on the free bus transportation, and they make that a priority for loading a lot of the attractions. You can use from the wheelchair or just load, have to stand up and shuffle over to the ride vehicle. And even if you're not in a wheelchair, if you're there and you stub your toe or, something, isn't going well for you, you can get a wheelchair at the park. They're only $10 a day. So it's really very, very easy to manage, whatever your situation.
Now, how do you deal with the senior in your group, or perhaps yourself if you are the senior, if they seem overwhelmed physically?
Well, it's kind of like what the unofficial guide to Walt Disney World says about youngsters. It says, take the nap, take the nap, take the nap.
Right.
You've got to keep an eye and monitor your senior. Make sure they're staying well hydrated. Watch their gait. See if they start limping or walking a little bit unevenly. They could have a sore knee or a sore hip, or a lot of standing will make your back kind of ache. So just check in with them often. Everyone needs to be really open and honest. In my mom's case, she's really big on taking that afternoon break. And Mom, why don't you tell them what that means to you?
Well, if I get, say, 30 to 40 minutes back in the room with something cold to drink and just a chance to put my feet up, then I'm really able to enjoy all the rest of the day until late at night. If I don't get that break, I'm going to be flagging by dinner time, and I might not have such a good time in the evening, and I miss the fireworks and the parade and all that fun stuff that makes us feel like kids again. So for me, that break in the middle of the day is essential. About 2 to 2:30, I have a little downtime, and then I'm good to go the rest of the day.
Hey, Julie, I'm sorry, Mariana, I was going to ask you, when you're at Walt Disney World, do you find that the things that bother you are the same things that bother you on an everyday basis, or does the grueling nature of Walt Disney World kind of inflame things that don't seem to bother you on a daily basis? Like perhaps your back might not hurt you on a daily basis, but walking around so much doesn't hurt your back. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And no, it's the same things that would bother me on a daily basis. It's just that, for instance, the last day that Julie and I were at Walt Disney World, the last time we were there, I wore my pedometer. We walked 7 miles that day.
Wow.
That's a little bit more than I walk on a normal day. I do a 2-mile walk every morning, but 7 miles in one day is, pushing it a little bit.
Mike Scopa, you wrote an article for Kara Goldsberry's book about senior touring. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Actually, it was a book on empty nest touring, but it also discusses the senior approach to touring. And one of the things that I think that Julie and Mariana also just touched upon was that as you approach those years, you tend to turn from commando-type touring to what many people affectionately call slug touring, and I think we've touched upon that. One of the things I wanted to ask Mariana was that I wanted to ask her what time of the year appeals to her for visiting Walt Disney World.
I really prefer the spring and mostly May because it's not too hot yet, and yet the days are mild, and you're comfortable without jackets and sweaters on, but you're not too hot, so that you have to be going for a drink every 5 minutes. So for me, April, May, ideal.
I see. One of the other things that I'd like you to comment on is that something I wrote in this little section in Kara's book was that as we get into the older years, we tend to appreciate the theme park transportation, things like the ferry, things like the Main Street vehicles, the railroad, the riverboat, things like that. Could you comment on that? Do you find yourself appreciating them more? Do you find yourself using them more than you had in the past?
Definitely. I love all the different modes of transportation. It makes it very easy to get from park to park or around the park, and it really adds to your enjoyment of the experience, because if I was doing all that more walking, I might not get all the way around. But we love the trains, I like the boats, I love the monorail, the fact that the buses are almost always there. I think Walt Disney World does a magnificent job with the transportation, and I appreciate it very much.
And research... go ahead, Julie.
This is how much of a fan my mother is of the transportation. Get ready to laugh. Big eye roll here. We've been known to roll out of our resort, take the bus to the Magic Kingdom. Don't go in the Magic Kingdom. Go straight to the monorail. Take the monorail to Epcot. Walk through Epcot to the boat dock and take the boat to MGM. So it's all about getting there. That's
wow.
a good morning.
That's called the scenic tour right there.
Yeah. The senior tour.
Now, researching attractions beforehand is pretty important, right, Julie?
Absolutely. You don't want to overface your senior, especially their first trip. Their eyes are going to be big enough as it is trying to take it all in. And you don't ever want to trick them into something that they're not going to be prepared for. One example is Dinosaur. I think everybody thinks, oh, it's a quiet little, cute little dark ride. You know, little things jump out at you, but no big deal.
Julie, Dinosaur scares me. I cannot ride that attraction. It's really quite pathetic.
Thinking about how the Jeeps are kind of jerky, and you know, people with brittle bones, you know, that could be an issue. All that side to side motion.
Right.
But what Disney does do a great job of is the chicken out options.
Yes, I love the chicken out options.
Well, that way we get to stay together through the queue, visit, talk, chat, plan, and then Mother gets to enjoy the pre-show experience, which I think the pre-show at Dinosaur is precious. And then she gets to chicken out and then, as I call it, tour the gift shop.
Yeah, I spent a long time in the gift shop while Julie's on the more demanding attraction.
Well, and you know, for those listeners who aren't familiar with the chicken exit, many attractions have, just before you actually load onto the vehicle, whether it be the elevator at Tower of Terror or the ride vehicle in Dinosaur, you can just ask the cast member to opt out. There's always an option out. I mean, you could always opt out of like Peter Pan, but I mean, certainly that's not the most intense attraction out there. So there's always that option so that they could go through the pre-show, and like you said, Julie, I mean, you don't have to, you know, make them feel like outcasts. Like, okay, go to the corner outside and wait for us, you know.
That's right. It's a way to stay together a little bit longer because you know that's why you're there, is to be together. It's a family trip, you know, a great time to visit and catch up. I only get to see my mom about 4 times a year, so we've got a lot of catching up to do.
Now, Julie, what are some of the better senior-friendly resorts on property?
Senior-friendly resorts. Well, I would say any monorail resort because it's so convenient to just zip back to the room for your nap. They are deluxe resorts, so if that's not really in your budget, we actually like to stay at the Pop Century because if you stay in the 70s building that has the big wheel icon,
yep,
you can go out the fast way through the parking lot and you're right at the bus stop. It's actually one of the shorter distances to get to the bus stop from some of those resorts.
I would also think that Port Orleans French Quarter would be ideal, given its small size.
Right, and the boat. You get the boat to downtown Disney.
Oh, perfect for Mariana.
Exactly, yes. It's actually where we're going to stay next.
Oh, great. Now, Mariana, you're 70 years old, and I know it's not fair to say a woman's age, but you know, for the sake of argument here, I had to divulge this. I hope you can forgive me.
I forgive you.
All right. Do you have...
It is what it is, after
now
all.
you picked up some interesting tidbits along the way when touring Walt Disney World. Why don't you share some of them with us?
Well, things that I appreciate about Walt Disney World, I've traveled quite a bit. You know, I've been all over Europe and lived in Africa for a time and so forth, and I really appreciate how authentic your World Showcase is. The food and the presentations, the whole flavor of the countries. So when I go to one of the country things that I haven't been, I get the feeling that I'm getting a real, honest, authentic representation of what that country is like. So I appreciate that. I really love Epcot, and I like the futuristic things about it, the science, you know, the cutting-edge things that Epcot presents, as well as the rides. I mean, I love Soarin'. The first time I went on Soarin', I was a little bit skeptical, but now it's my favorite thing to do at Epcot. So, and I have to confess that I love the parades and the fireworks displays at night. It makes me feel like a kid again. I'm apt to be one of the people jumping up and down and saying, "Hi, Mickey," with the rest of the kids. So Walt Disney World makes you feel young again. It really does.
Let's see. I was trying to think of some good questions. I've got a good one for you, Mariana.
Okay.
Could you give me an idea as to where your favorite viewing spots are for parades? I mean, the thing is that if you're a 7-year-old, you don't mind standing for a while waiting for a parade. But if you're a little bit older than 7, I think there's a little bit of an issue waiting for about an hour standing on your feet. So could you give us a few ideas as to where you like to watch the parades in the Magic Kingdom and in MGM?
Well, I'm going to have to ask Julie for some help now. One of the things we do is try to be in the area where we're going to want to view the parade for a while beforehand. Maybe go and get a drink or an ice cream or something. You just hang out in that area and spot a place where we might sit, or where there's a fence or a bench or something to kind of lean against. But Julie, I don't remember where those are. Can you?
Well, oftentimes I will ask a cast member where the handicap seating is because I know that there will be benches in that area. And I'll scope it out and see if it's very crowded. And I can, just about every time I've been able to find spots for one, spot on a bench. And so I'll always go in and say, do you mind if my mother sits with you? And they're like, oh, no, please. And I have to drag her away. She's made new friends, but I'm grateful. But so I often will ask a cast member, I'll say, I'm with my mother, and they're always so helpful, and they'll give me great ideas where to go. I know there's a handicap viewing area, Animal Kingdom, just as you come out of, is it Bug's Life?
Right.
So just to the right there's some handicap benches. So that's really, with the seniors, that's what I do. I think that, they get some preferential treatment for those benches, and I can usually find her a bench around the hub at Magic Kingdom. It's not that difficult. And again, everyone's nice. It's hard to be in a bad mood at Magic Kingdom. I can just ask people politely, do you mind if my mother squeezes in? And, everyone's always been very accommodating. Now, we do sit on the benches or the circle around the hub at Magic Kingdom to watch the fireworks at night.
Right.
I always
and there's a little parky-like place where we sit to watch stars and motor cars.
Just outside the Brown Derby.
Oh, yep.
Something else I always like to do is, do your homework and identify some things up front that you think your senior will enjoy. One thing I started taking Mom for Mother's Day. That's why we like to go to May. It's like our Mother's Day trip together. And so I made reservations at the Garden View Lounge at the Grand Floridian one afternoon for afternoon tea.
Yep.
On Mother's Day, it was such a hit.
Oh, it was so charming.
We had such a great time. And, think about the steam trains at Magic Kingdom and the steam train tour that they have, especially if you've got gentlemen in your party. A lot of seniors use trains for transportation as a regular mode of transportation when they were growing up. They have a real attachment and nostalgia for trains. And even the behind-the-scenes tour at the land at Epcot is very inexpensive. And a 45-minute tour is something they can easily take in, and I think they would really enjoy.
That's some great tips.
One last thing I wanted to make a point of. I want Mom to talk a little bit about the Carousel of Progress. Tell them where you first saw the Carousel of Progress.
I first saw the Carousel of Progress at the New York World's Fair. And, of course, it was brand new then and a real wow kind of thing for everybody. And so now when I go back to Walt Disney World, it evokes those memories for me of the New York World's Fair in, was it 1965, I think.
Wow.
So, I was probably one of the first people that saw that at the New York World's Fair.
That's great.
List of things to do.
And that's a great senior attraction because you're sitting down in air conditioning.
Exactly.
It's
one of the things I appreciate about Walt Disney World is there are lots of little places like, Turtle Talk and Beauty and the Beast. When you're a little bit tired, there's always a nice place to go sit down. You can be entertained, get cool, rest a little bit, and you're not really taking time out from your day or your touring. You're enjoying something, but it's a different mode. It's really wonderful.
great.
One last tip I'd like to.
Go ahead.
This is our strategy for any time we're waiting for a bus, especially. I'll find Mother a bench in the shade where she can keep her eyes on me, and I'll stay in the queue. And then just as I'm getting up to the door, she leaves her bench and comes around the queue and loads the bus with me. That way she doesn't have to stand online for 20, 30 minutes while you're waiting for a bus to show up.
That's a great tip.
Very helpful.
Yeah, I think you can use that extend that to almost any attraction and waiting, whether it be parades or buses, is that have someone more physically able wait and have the senior wait on the side, sitting down, preferably,
and then join them, when you get closer to the beginning of the line.
Exactly.
Well,
Every time.
Well, Julie, your website again, besides contributing to touringplans.com, is also thefamilygroove.com. We'll have a link in the show notes to that. Julie, Mariana, thank you for both coming on.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
And
Anytime.
that's it for us today. This has been episode 135 of Walt Disney World Today. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, Julie Saunders, and Mariana McCann, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.